It doesn't always look like loss, but something is being lost. Not loudly, not suddenly, but quietly over time. We've looked at how excuses can sound like wisdom, and how repeated thoughts can keep things exactly where they are. But there's something deeper than both of those. Because even when nothing seems wrong, something can already be slipping. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. Something is already shrinking when nothing is being challenged. What is left untouched does not stay the same, it quietly reduces within reach. Possibilities don't stay available just because they exist. If they are not acted on, they begin to fade until they no longer feel real. What is not grown does not remain neutral, it stays small. And what stays small long enough begins to feel like that is all it can ever be. Nothing happening is not always harmless. Sometimes, what looks like stillness is actually something important, not happening at all. Absence carries weight. What is missing shapes what continues even when it is not immediately noticed. Opportunities are not always taken away. You can simply fail to enter them. And when they are not stepped into, they begin to feel like they were never really there. Some paths were never blocked, they were never taken. And over time, what was once open begins to feel like it was never an option at all. Unused potential does not disappear, but it stops feeling like potential. Left alone long enough, it begins to feel normal to live without it. Growth rarely stops in a moment, it slows first. Then it settles, and eventually staying the same begins to feel acceptable. Stillness carries consequences. If it lasts long enough, it begins to define what you expect from your life. Delay changes how things feel. What once felt close can begin to feel distant, simply because it was not approached. Timing moves quietly, but it always moves, and while it moves, what was easy to enter can begin to require more effort to return to. Some doors remain open, yet are never walked through. And over time they stop feeling like doors and start feeling like distance. What is not revisited becomes unfamiliar, not because it changed, but because connection to it was not maintained. Distance is not always created by movement. Sometimes it is created by standing still for too long. There are things that were meant to stretch you, but instead they were left where they first appeared, not because they weren't possible, but because they weren't stepped into. What is not explored does not disappear. It simply remains unknown, even though it was once within reach. Over time, what was once unfamiliar begins to feel unnecessary. Not because it changed, but because it was never engaged. And slowly, without announcement, what could have expanded your life stays outside of it. It doesn't feel like loss in the moment. There is no alarm, no interruption, just a quiet continuation of what already is. But what continues, unchanged, also limits what can become. There are outcomes that require response. Without that response, they remain possibilities, never becoming reality. And possibilities left untouched do not grow on their own. They wait, not loudly, not urgently, but steadily. And while they wait, something else is happening. What is familiar begins to take deeper root. until it feels stable, even if it is not moving. Stability without movement can feel safe, but it also holds things in place. And what is held in place long enough begins to feel like where you belong, even if it was never meant to be permanent. There are levels of growth that require stepping beyond what is known. Without that step, those levels remain unseen, and what remains unseen is often forgotten, not because it had no value, but because it was never experienced. There are things that would have changed you if they had been entered, moments that would have stretched you, decisions that would have shaped you, but without movement, they remain moments that pass, not moments that transformed. And over time, what was once an opportunity becomes a memory of what could have been. Not dramatic, not loud, just quietly missed. And what is missed quietly is often never revisited, not because it cannot return, but because it is no longer recognized. And so life continues, but within a space that could have been larger, not forced smaller, just never expanded. That is how limitation forms, not always through loss, but through what was never entered. Not everything is taken away. Some things are simply left untouched, and what is left untouched does not shape your life, even if it had the power to. There are things that could still be reached, but only if they are recognized again, only if they are no longer passed by, only if something shifts. Not in thought alone, but in response, because what is not responded to remains outside of your life, and what remains outside cannot become part of what is within. Look closely. Not everything that is missing was taken away. Some things were simply never entered, and that changes more than it seems. I'm your host, Abigail, and this is Wisdom Wednesday.